Hi everyone, happy Thursday. Welcome along to this week's deep dive. In this week's session, we are going to take a closer look into managing multiple user dashboards. And I'll be joined later today by my colleague Julie from support that will be happy to answer any questions that you have throughout the session. So for those that haven't been here before, introduce myself. My name is Marcus. I'm a customer success specialist here at Sendible, and you will find me here often to take you guys throughout the dashboard. Now, to also help you guys navigate around, you will see to the side there is a few different tabs. You'll have a chat tab where I would just say hello to everyone. So feel free to respond back. Next to the chat tab, we have a questions tab. This is where you can ask all of your user dashboard related questions. I say related questions because I want to keep it to topic so that we will have the time to answer all the questions that you have. I think Pete has asked the first question just to sort of highlight that is the place to get them done. Okay, so for the regulars, before we get started, we like to have an icebreaker. So today's icebreaker is, if you were the host of a chat show like Jerry Springer and Trisha, for those from the UK, who would be your first special guest on your very own chat show? So to get the ball rolling, my first guest, I find him quite interesting, would be Joe Rogan, who is a famous American podcaster. One day probably going to be the president of America. But who would your first guest on the chat show be? Answers in the chat. And while you get those done, I will start to share my screen. Okay, so here we've got Jack Kirby, the other half. Oh yeah, I've heard of Jack Kirby. Great stuff. John Jones. Yeah, John Jones would be a great guest as well. Used to be a big fan of John Jones, but he has a colorful background now. So let's get a few more answers in the chat here, and then we'll get started. Oh yeah, Grandma Julie. Well, I'm sure she's fantastic. Awesome. Elizabeth Olsen. Yeah, that's a great answer, actually. A really interesting one. Donald Trump. Yeah, I was actually thinking Donald Trump. Bit controversial, Jacqueline, but I'm sure it'd be a very entertaining guest if he can survive your hard-hitting questions. All right, excellent. So right now, everyone should be able to see my screen. The Queen, thank you. Paul Rudd, excellent. Right now, you should all be able to see my screen. I'm in the calendar view because this is, where you would be every time you log in. But the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to take you over to the Manage Users section, which is available to all admins. So if you're not an admin, this may not be as relevant, but it should be very important on how you still can manage your own dashboard and those dashboards underneath you. So hang in there and we'll definitely make it relevant for everybody. So the way to get to the Manage Users section is two ways. You've got your My Dashboard drop down, and you've got a option to manage users. And you also have a drop down on the top right hand side where admins will be able to see manage users. So let's head over here, and from here you will see the full list of all of the different users that you've added to your account. So this could be yourself as an administrator, all of the different clients, team members, etc. Now, we would normally recommend that you have a separate dashboard for each of your clients or for the different brands that you manage. The reason is some people would like to share their login details, but we don't recommend that, because if one person is logged in and then you log in with the same details, you're going to log that person out. So it can cause some conflicts. So let's go through and try and understand what we see here. So right now you have myself, who is the main administrator on this account. Now, as you can see, embedded underneath me is a number of clients. Now, these clients have been put into a same hierarchy as myself. So technically, I'm managing these clients. I've also added my colleague Savannah as an administrator and just like a default team member. Now, administrators will be able to access all users on their dashboard, even if they're outside of the hierarchy or not. And when I say be able to access all users on their dashboard, I mean they'll be able to use their switch dashboard dropdown and see a full list which mirrors that shown here. So I could impersonate all of the different clients. I could impersonate Savannah or my team member, and that would give me access to the profiles that they have access to. Okay. Now, if I'm not in a hierarchy, such as this team member down below, this is just a team member set as team member, but outside of any hierarchy. When that team member logs in, they'll only be able to see their own dashboard, okay, until they're included in a larger hierarchy. Right, so let's take a look at how we go and create our users and the different options available to us. So whilst you're in manage users, you have the option up here to add a new user. So you'd simply just fill out the credentials of this new user. So I will go and I'm going to add a client called PW Comics. Okay. For those that know PW, that's going to be Peter Woods. And he's going to be PW at sendible.com. And I'll just give him a username and password. Right. Now, when creating users, you can add a permission group. That permission group will kind of determine what they will see in the dashboard and what features they'll have access to. I'll come back to this section in just a bit to demonstrate it a bit more. What I want to do, though, I want to move away from credentials and to the account tab. This is where we can select one of those 3 profile types that we spoke about. So let's just remind ourselves that admins can view this manage user area. They have access to your subscription details and also will be able to impersonate all of the users in their dashboard. A client is a user that will only be able to see their own dashboard. So when a client logs in and they try to engage with the My Dashboard dropdown, they will only be able to see themselves. They won't see any sort of team members or anything like that. And a team member, as I spoke about before, is very similar to an admin. So they will be able to see all of the other people in their hierarchy, but they won't be able to manage users and they won't be able to view your subscription details. So we're going to set Peter up as a client here. And then we can add Peter to a hierarchy. So maybe you have a team member or another dashboard user that would be responsible for this new client. So in this case, I'm going to say that this client is going to be managed by, and I'm going to say it's going to be managed by Savannah. So I'm going to put this client under Savannah's hierarchy. Now, if I wanted this client to access any other dashboards, then we do have a field called also has access to, and then I could manually give the client access to another one of my team dashboards. Every user or dashboard you create, you can assign a profile color. This will just help you identify their activity in places like your calendar. So we'll give PW Comics a nice purple here. And then you have the option to reset the session. That is just basically when we should sort of refresh the code base to ensure that you're using the most up-to-date version of the dashboard. Every 2 days would be our recommended option here. Okay, then we have a workflow tab. This is basically where we control the approval process. So if I want this user to have all of their content checked before going live, then I can toggle this to yes, and then I can select who their approver would be. Okay. All right, perfect. So now we can go ahead and create this client user. Okay. So under Savannah, we have now got a client that she manages called PW Comics. So why would we do this? Now, one of the reasons is I'd want PW Comics, their brand, to be listed under their dashboard. Right now, under my dashboard, I manage basically all of the profiles. So if I select my profiles, I've got a combination of the different brands I manage. So Point MMA for the MMA fan in the audience, plus just different sort of brands. So YouTube, and then these two Facebook profiles are those that relate to PW Comics. So what I'm going to want to do is share these two profiles with PW Comics. Now, there's two ways I can do this. I can use the three-dot menu on the right-hand side and share and select PW Comics. And admins can also take that action back in the Manage Users section. And you've got profile sharing here. And this will allow me to create a relationship. Now, please note, it's always best to keep your name as the owner. There's just a few things we need to iron out, but you as the owner can then share your profiles with one of your other dashboard users. So in this case, I could go to PW Comics. I can see the profile that I've already shared. And now I can go ahead and share the other profile I want. I could actually go and share them all if I really wanted to, but I don't. I just want to share the branded ones with PW Comics. All right. Now, the benefit of that is that when I'm doing reporting, we have a report template called the engagement report. And that engagement report would basically look at all of the profiles you've got access to that support reporting. So if I head over to my reports and I run an engagement report, this is going to look at all of the profiles that I've got access to. So it's a combination between my Point MMA reports and my PW Comics plus a handful of others. But now that I've shared these brands with PW Comics, I can actually go into the PW Comics dashboard now, run an engagement report, which is the specific to his brand. Okay, get this up for you. So you can see this engagement report is only unique to PW Comics, which is fantastic. Another reason why I may want to separate my dashboard and my users out is that when I'm creating posts, I can now actually manage PW Comics in his dashboard. So any post that I create while impersonating PW Comics would appear in his calendar as well. Okay, so if I go into his calendar, when he logs in, he'll be able to see everything that I've done in his dashboard. Okay, let's go back to manage users. So if I just go back into my dashboard and to manage users, I can then take you through the permission group. So in order to kind of show this off a bit more, I want to log in as my team member in a brand new tab. So I'm just going to sign in as another user over here. Okay, because I'm going to show you what the team member sees now, make some edits so then you can see what effect that will have. Okay, so let me just get myself in. Oh, no, didn't like that. Bear with me, sorry. That should work. Perfect. Okay, so remember, if we just take a look back, team member is a team member and is sitting outside of any hierarchy, okay? So really, I expect him not to be able to navigate between any dashboards. So if I have over here, so you see, I only have access to my dashboard, okay? Because I'm not part of any hierarchy and I don't have access to any other dashboards as yet. And you can see I've got access to all of my verticals at the top. So let's go and make some changes, okay? So what we're going to do with team member is we're going to add team member to the hierarchy under Marcus McLagan. So I'm going to edit team member settings, go to account, and I'm going to say that this team member is managed by Marcus McLagan, and to maintain that user hierarchy. So now team member lives in that same hierarchy as all of my clients. So if I go back here and just refresh, next time I look at that my dashboard drop down, I should be able to see sort of clients 2 to 6 plus the manager. So let's just make sure that's worked. Perfect. So I'm now part of that hierarchy. So I still can't see Savannah because she kind of lives outside, but now as a team member, I can access all of the clients and the person that manages me. Right. So let's go back into team member and let's assign them with a permission group. Okay. So before I do that, let's open the permissions over here to see what groups we've got available. So the first group is default, which gives me access to all areas of the platform. But I've already created a permission group called no access to reporting. New permission groups can just be created by clicking the plus icon and then giving it a name. And then I can go through and select what permissions should be available. So in this case, I've selected all permissions, but I've left out the permissions for reporting here. So anyone that has this permission group assigned to them won't be able to access reporting. So let's assign that permission group to team member. So in the credentials tab under permissions, I can switch them into no access to reporting, update that user. So now when I go back, I don't expect team member to have access to this vertical here. So let's test it out. So you saw it just disappear really quickly without me even having to refresh. So you can create new permission groups for all of your users and determine what they can and can't have access to. All right, excellent. So let's see another thing that you may need to notice. So when you are managing users, you have the ability to sort of add and delete users, but there will be some instances where you can't delete a certain user. So for example, if someone is set as an administrator, like Savannah, you'll see there isn't an option to delete that user. Administrators can't be deleted. Administrators will need to first be set as team members. Okay, so now Savannah is a team member. When I go back to edit, oops, did I not save? Oh, actually, no, I know why. Sorry, I jumped the gun a little bit there. Let me get rid of this. Okay, so Savannah is now a team member. She doesn't manage anyone. So now when I open her user details, I've got the option to delete that user. Okay, so that is, you can't delete admins. You'd have to convert them to team members first, and then you should be able to delete them. But as you saw just a minute ago, if Savannah is managing someone, so if Savannah is managing PW Comics, so over here, then you won't be able to delete. So even though she's no longer an administrator, she is responsible for some other dashboards. So you'll see there isn't the option to delete. I would need to remove her responsibility. So make sure that she doesn't manage anyone. So remove manage by, and then I'll be able to go and delete Savannah as a user. All right, fantastic. And I can see Julie's just put in a chat a few helpful articles. So some more information on permission groups and also a deep dive into permission groups. So thank you, Julie. And on that note, I'm actually going to invite Julie in to answer any questions. I can't see any fresh questions in the questions tab, so please don't be shy. If you have anything, any questions to ask, we do have 10 minutes to go over all of your questions, so please feel free. Hey, Julie, how you doing?
I'm doing well today.
Good stuff. I'll just stop my sharing. So yeah, I can't see any questions, Julie. I think you was going to have a quick tip to show users that might encounter some issues when updating users, but have an auto form filler.
If you are using a password manager, LastPass or 1Password are the two common ones, but there are others. It's possible that you might when you try to change permissions for user, that it wants to autofill things in. And it is possible in most password managers to turn off the automatic fill for certain URLs. So if that's something that you run into, it's trying to add your information to your client's user in Sendible, you can turn it off, but I would recommend that you don't turn it off for app.sendible.com. I would recommend that you turn it off for app.sendible.com/manage, because that way you can still use your password manager to log into Sendible, but it shouldn't bother you when you're on those manage pages. And I did look up the information for LastPass, and so you can see some of the details on that there. I'm sure there's something similar for 1Password, and the other one is escaping me at the moment. There's another common one too. And I will say too that from the support desk, one of the questions that we get most frequently is when my client logs in, they can't see the messages, the posts that I've created for them. And that is because you do have to create those posts on the dashboard for your client in order for them to see them. If you are on your dashboard, you'll be able to see them just fine, but they won't. And we also get a certain number of requests or questions about when you as an admin are looking at your client's dashboard, it is possible for you to see more than just your client's messages. It's like you're on their dashboard. You have changed over to their dashboard, but it is now showing messages for a different client. And that is something that just happens because you're an admin. And if you go to the top of the screen and filter for that team member, it should look much closer to what your client is actually seeing. So sometimes that throws people into cause for concern, but yeah, don't worry about that. If it was created on your client's dashboard, only your client will be able to see that and nothing else.
Oh, I think Savannah's got a question, Julie.
Savannah's got a question. If I add my client user dashboard to a user hierarchy, can they see my other clients in that group? Marcus, I think you demonstrated this.
Yeah, I'll just get my screen up to get that answered. That's a really good question, actually. So as you can see in my first sort of cluster up here, I have a few users that have been given the profile type client. When these clients log in, even though they're part of a hierarchy which contains multiple users, they won't be able to impersonate other users. Anyone that's been given the profile type client, when they log in, they will only have access to their own dashboard. They'll only see content done by their own brand, unless you've manually gone into the account tab and given them also has access to another dashboard. That's the only way a client will see another dashboard, is if you've also has access to has been used. Great question, Savannah. Hopefully that answer was useful. Okay, not many questions today. I was quite surprising, to be fair. But we'll give you just a couple more minutes to get any more questions in. Oh, there we go. Oh, no, that's your reply, yep. Julie. Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, you may be lucky and get 6 minutes of your day back, everyone. Awesome. Well, listen, I hope that was useful. If there's any sort of questions you have, always feel free to send it to us at success@sendible.com. We're more than happy to get back to you, especially if you've got any sort of questions that don't relate to user dashboard management. We hope to see you guys here next week. Keep an eye out for emails because our October webinars will soon be announced. And if you've got any ideas or anything that you want to see in the future, feel free to use that email address again, success@sendible.com, to let us know what you would like to see in future webinars. And no doubt we'll definitely try and make it happen for you. All right, everyone, you have a great day. Enjoy your weekends, and we'll see you all again next week. Bye.